Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Unconventional Attorney Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Small, and I am the Unconventional Attorney. Today, I'm excited to bring you another attorneyx episode. If you are unfamiliar with this, I am basically interviewing anonymously law firm owners from around the globe to find out what's working for them, the kind of revenue that they're really making, the kind of challenges that they're really facing, and uncovering all of the things that they are afraid to expose out there in the real world under their own names. Now, the only way that I can continue to have these interviews is for law firm owners just like you to come on the show. We all get to learn from the information and the experiences we share, and this is my call to action for you to come and join me as an attorneyx guest. It's very simple. It's 20 minutes. And if you come on, I give you a free t-shirt that you can't get anywhere else. So if you walk around and you see people wearing attorneyx t-shirts, it's because they have taken the plunge and they are attorneyx alumni. To sign up is very simple. All you have to do is go to theunconventionalattorney.com/attorneyx. You can pick a date and time that work for you, and when that date and time come, we'll chat. Okay, so that's theunconventionalattorney.com/attorneyx. Go and schedule your date today so we can keep up this really cool deal that we've got going on. All right, now let's get into the show. Hello, friends, and welcome to another attorneyx interview. Today, as you can probably guess, I've got attorneyx. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, as a reminder to you in the audience, I ask the same questions to every guest on every show and promise anonymity so we can get the raw truth about your law firm. The goal is for all of us to learn more from each other by sharing what's really happening inside our firms. You cool with that?
Yes.
Excellent. Let's get into the show. All right, question number one. We'll start with the hard ones. How old are you?
41.
And are you married?
Yes.
Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have one boy, 3 years old.
Okay, awesome. How long have you been practicing law?
17 years.
Okay, what's your lawyer story? Like why did you decide to go to law school? Like, what's that story?
Well, I decided to go to law school because I didn't know what else to do. I majored in classical history and history, and I don't know what to do with that except maybe go on and get a PhD and be a professor, which I didn't want to do. So then I thought, I'll just go to law school. So it's not like I really wanted to be a lawyer or anything like that. I just thought, I don't know what else to do, so I'll go to law school.
Right. Nice. And what do you do? What's your primary area of practice?
Now our firm does real estate, business, and estate planning.
Okay. What do you do mostly? What would you consider? If I said, what do you do? What would you tell me? You say all three or all four? Or do you say
all
one?
Three. We really do all three. I do all three. So.
Okay. And why? How'd you get into those? How'd you choose those?
Well, I started out, when I started practicing, I was in criminal defense. And then I did that for 2 years, decided it wasn't for me, went into a civil firm doing insurance defense for 6 years, got sort of burnt out, went over to a mortgage banking firm, which was even more challenging, got really burnt out, and then went to, I went in-house for an insurance company for a year. Because I thought I didn't want to do the billable hours. But then when I was there, I was bored out of my mind because I wasn't actually practicing law. I was just managing the litigation files. So I decided I wanted to practice law again. So I went back to the mortgage banking firm, and then I got my real estate license and thought, well, maybe I'll do real estate. But the firm I was at said, realtors are sued all the time. We can't have you doing real estate because of our malpractice insurance premiums will go up. So that's what forced me to go out on my own, which was actually a good thing. So I was able to I just opened up my own shop, but it was like just an office in another firm that I rented while I played around with the real estate, which I played around for like a year. And then I decided, no, I don't want to be a realtor. I just want to practice law. So then I convinced, at that point I had just met my partner. And then I married him, and then I convinced him to come with me into the firm. And so that's how we got here. But the reason we're doing real estate business and estate planning is frankly because that's what we want to do. But the real estate really came about because when I was playing around with real estate, I was doing a lot of networking with realtors and in the real estate community. And so our first big client I met at a cocktail party with, for realtors. So that's actually how we were able to really jump off, because that client is still a very large client of ours. So they really helped us.
When you say, and just for clarity's sake, when you say like real estate law, what does that mean that you do most of the time? Same with business. Like is it transactional kind of stuff? Is it litigation?
It's transactions and litigation, but the big client, it's mostly litigation. And honestly, I would love to go away we're trying to get away from this, but most of our revenue is from litigation. I mean, that's what we make most of.
And then is it business litigation as well, mostly?
Yeah. But actually, you know what? For the business side, it's more general counsel, but it's more like transactional contracts, that kind of, formation, business formation, that kind of thing.
Got it. When did you open your firm?
We opened at the end of 2015.
Okay. So 16, 17, 18. So you're like about 4 years in, almost?
Yeah, we're going into our 5th year in January. So
that's amazing. Fantastic. Congratulations on that. Okay. When you started your firm, I know you sort of talked about how it operated just a little bit. Did you fund it with anything? Like, I've been asking everybody this, like, did you have a little nest egg that you brought with you? How much money did you sort of use when you started up? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, 15,000. We put 15,000 in the farm bank account, and thankfully that worked. Like, we didn't have to put any more money in. So.
Right. And did you use that to like get a website and just like get all the things and sort of spin that down as you ramped up your business?
Yeah, we used it for the website and just getting started. And we had one employee that started with us, who is still with us.
Nice. And you mentioned, and so you talked about a big client that you have. Was that your very first client?
No, it just was a big one that actually made it work.
Yeah. So. Do you remember your first client?
Yes.
What's the story?
Well, it was a friend of mine. So he was my first client. He's the one that, he heard, of course, I knew him, so he knew that I had just opened a firm. And so he came to me for some business contracts. So.
Right. Nice. Okay. It was funny. I ask everybody that question about the first client, and I'm like, you should be able to remember that. That's easy. But then I was talking to somebody yesterday or something, and somebody asked me that question, and I couldn't remember. I could not remember how I got my first client. Like that's, it's just like a long time ago now.
For you, it's a long time ago. I think you've been doing this.
Even I couldn't even remember how I got my first estate planning client. That was only like 3.5 years ago. I still can't remember that one either. But they all just blend together, I mean, when you got, and I could, just like you were working for a while. It's like, once you get one, they all start coming, It's like,
right.
All right. So anyway, but I digress, right? Okay, let's see. Do you work out of your home, or do you have a traditional office?
Traditional office.
And then let's just ask this for each of your 3 areas. Do you bill by the hour, or do you work on like flat fee basis?
So for estate planning, we do the flat fee, which is wonderful. For the business and the real estate, we do hourly. And I have played with it, and especially in litigation, which I know I don't know. I know when you've talked, you're into the flat, which I like the idea of, but for litigation, no way, because it's totally unpredictable. And I I just don't feel comfortable. So also even for the general counsel stuff, I don't do it because what happens is, I'll quote a flat fee for a contract, and then the person will, call me 500 times, and then it's not working. So I've actually pushed away from flat fee, and we're doing mostly hourly, unless it's estate planning. Then I can completely control, like I know how I can actually make a profit. So.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about it being a function of not charging enough as opposed to like them taking advantage of your time?
No, just because.
Or do they just push back? Is there only a certain price that you could pay or you could ask?
You mean for flat fees or?
Yeah, for flat fee. Like for your general counsel, is there a number at which them calling you 500 times would be fine?
Oh, sure. But it's not a number that is easy to sell. So, I mean, good idea. Definitely something to think about, but
is that number bigger or smaller though than what they pay now per month?
It probably is bigger than what they pay. Because the other thing is when they're general counsel, it's like sometimes they don't need anything, so they don't want to pay. Of course, they don't want to pay anything. So then the common ground is sort of, okay, well, pay when you need something.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I'm not. I'm just curious. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't do any hourly. I don't do any hourly billing. So, it's kind of. I get it that people do it, and sometimes it's necessary. But I like to just sort of like, poke at it a little bit and just see. All right. Okay. I know you have, how many people are in your firm? Attorneys and staff and everybody. Like what does your firm makeup look like?
So counting me, there's 3 attorneys. And then the staff, we have 2 legal assistants, 1 paralegal, a receptionist, an operations manager, and a COO, basically an office manager. So I don't know, what is that, 8 or 9? Something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. For the attorneys, do you guys tend to break up your duties? Like, are you sort of primarily doing like the estate planning and one's doing the business, or do you sort of tag team it all? How do you sort of decide who does what?
Yeah, well, I think it's tag team all, but the thing is, I mean, I'm the estate planning attorney, so I do all the estate planning by choice because that's really what I would like to be doing full time, and that's the plan eventually. But everything else is just divided between us. I think, what we're really, which is probably a question that you're going to be asking, but next year is really going to be about increasing efficiency and just making sure everybody is using their time wisely, because what I've been struggling with is, since I'm, for lack of a better term, the CEO of the firm, I do a lot of admin, so I'm not doing as much billing, which I would, of course, in an ideal world, you want to bill as much as possible. So we've kind of restructured the other attorneys so that they literally are only working, and I'm the one doing the admin. Because of course somebody has to do the admin, but you also have to make sure you're doing enough billing. So,
but in a perfect world, aren't you doing no billing and no admin and just thinking about the business, and everybody else is doing all the other things, right?
Well, sure. Yeah. I guess that's the second step after I get to the, let me just do this.
Oh, well, there's definitely that you have to do it all step. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. I'm still in that step. Right. So, like it's easy to talk about this fantastic vision of, you just thinking about things all day, just being amazing, but there is reality. I get that. Okay. So let's see. Who'd you hire first? Who did you, what was I think you mentioned already. Was it like an assistant? Was it somebody? Who'd you hire first?
Well, when we started out, we literally met her for lunch and told her we were opening up a firm together. Because when I was out for a year by myself, just to be really clear, I had a firm, but I was really into the real estate. I was just doing some contract work to keep my lights on. I wasn't really doing it. So when my partner and I opened the firm, it was a different firm, we started all over. And so we met with somebody he knew, and just told her we're starting a firm. We would love you to, be a part of it. And surprisingly, she was very interested, and she's been awesome, and she's been there ever since. I mean, she started out obviously doing everything, and now she's the COO, and she's running, like she's the office manager, for lack of a better term. So she's doing the HR and the finances and,
Right.
keeping all that.
Yeah.
So.
What do you have any tips on hiring? How have you found that you've found good people or picked the right people? What do you got for us on that front?
Well, I mean, I just think who you hire is so very important. Picking the right team. I mean, I've spent 3.5 years was focused on just picking the right people, and it was really challenging. And yeah, I just think we've gone through so many people, and now I think we have a good core team. Tips on how to do it.
What's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned, or sort of like a philosophy that you bring to the table when you're trying to do this? Like, do you tell yourself, like, for example, for me, I have to tell myself, just because I like this person doesn't mean they're going to be a good fit for this job that I'm trying to fulfill. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I always sit down and I'm like, hey, we hit it off. I'm like, oh, hey, you're great. Like, come on in. And they get in here. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. They're not fit for this job at all. I've definitely done that before.
Yeah.
It's like what have you learned? What are your lessons from that you've sort of come away with from your hiring exploits?
Well, I think, first of all, just weeding through all the resumes. We have like a essay question that we have everybody complete, so that kind of weeds through some of them. And
what is it? What's the question?
Or
is it secret? Can't be top secret.
It's like 3 questions about, something about, well, tell me about a problem you've had with communicating with your supervisor. How did you resolve it? Just to see first of all, just to see if they can write, because for the legal assistants and paralegals, that's important. And secondly, I think see if, what they say about that. So that's helped. But also, like, for some of the positions, we started just paying them like $100 to come in for one day, not actually hiring them, but just paying them to come in and do like a practice work, which I've found really helpful, because sometimes right away they're just not gonna it's just not gonna work. So then we don't have to waste the time hiring them. We can just so that's helped. I guess that's something that's definitely helped us.
Do you have a worst hire that you've ever made?
Yeah, sure we do. Absolutely. Yeah. I have to say that I'm very, thank goodness I have an employment attorney. Like, I practically feel like he's part of our staff. I mean, we don't, have that many problems, but we definitely called him, and, he had to get involved with this one. But, I don't know. Somehow we had a crazy guy who, just, in fact, he's still, I don't know. Anyway, he just, I don't know what happened. He seemed somehow
he snuck through.
Very entitled. He snuck through. He was very entitled, and then he just kind of tried to, rile up the staff about the office and all of this. So anyway, we got our employment attorney involved, and I think everything's fine now. But it was just not a good thing. Not a good thing. So
crazy. All right. Okay. So switching gears, pretty much completely. What was your 2018 revenue? Like, just gross revenue, top line.
2018 was it was like 960,000.
Nice, very nice. And what about 2019? We're almost done, but you have like a pretty close to final projection.
Well, I just checked. Of course, we don't have the December numbers, but we're at 1.1.
Nice.
So I think we're gonna, do a little bit more. So that'll be good.
That's cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hitting that 7-figure mark, that's pretty cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys celebrate or do anything for it? Or did you just, this is what we do?
No, we didn't celebrate. I guess that's, when I say that, I sound like maybe we should have, but no, because now I've already got my, targets for next year. And I think what I've realized this year is, like I kind of mentioned before, a big deal now for me is just increasing the efficiency with the people we have, because while our numbers they're good. It's just that there's also a lot of operating costs. And so I'm actually not where I want to be because, I kind of subscribe. I've done a lot of internet research and talked to people and the CPA and this and that. I subscribe to the third. So, I want a third profit, like for an attorney, right? You're going to pay him a third and a third is profit. And then a third is what it costs to keep them or whatever. So we're not there. I mean, we are with one attorney, let me say that, but we're not there with the staff nor the other two attorneys. So, we've got to, I guess I should be celebrating the small wins and not, I'm already on to the next, like, okay, we need to do more. But
that's typical.
Anyway, we're getting there. We're getting there. So
still cool though. So congratulations on that. I'll give you some kudos.
Thanks.
It's pretty amazing.
Thanks.
So for you specifically, like how about like a typical work week, how many hours are you working a week, do you think?
I mean, I'm definitely, in the office 40 hours a week, which I ultimately do want to scale down a little bit, especially because of my son. And then I work at least a couple hours on the weekend. So I don't know, like I'm working 46 hours or something.
Yeah, 40, 45, between 40 and 50, give and take.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. How do you get most of your clients? Where do they come from?
Yeah, I'm tracking those numbers and I still don't have I don't really have a complete answer, but my sense is mostly it's from sphere, like people that know us or know of us, but it's because we do a lot with the real estate community. And so we teach real estate continuing education courses for agents, and that honestly, that's the easiest and quickest ROI in my opinion when you're teaching to people. And so I think, and of course we do the Google AdWords and that's quick and to get calls. It's just weeding through all the crap to get to the actual good people. But I mean, we definitely, I think it's, I've made sure that what we're spending on Google makes sense because we absolutely get it back. It's just the time that it takes to find the good people there. But I guess to answer your question, it's more just people like
mostly referrals, right? Basically, then
that's it.
Off of your sort of education and marketing, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, we do a lot with the social media stuff and I'm changing the way I'm doing it based on what you're telling me. So hopefully I'll get more from that.
That's right. You will. It will work. That's cool. Yeah, and the important thing to remember too when it comes to litigation is that you're always going to get crazies, because it's not like with estate planning, you probably don't have to weed through a lot of bad people because people just know, like, I don't have an estate plan. I think I need one, like as a price match, right? But when it comes to like litigation, people don't always know if they have anything that's even a real case, If
they have a case, right.
So you get all these crazy people calling you thinking like they're about to be millionaires, but they just don't know, right? Because they're just not in the game. They don't know how to evaluate what their situation is like. So I always try to get people, like, if you're in litigation, PI too, same thing, right? They don't know. People just don't know how to evaluate their cases. You just got to be willing to sort of sift through that. And if you can do it, and this is not for you, this is sort of like for the audience. But if you can create sort of filters on the front end, whether it's with like set questions that you ask before the meeting, or just anything else that you can come up with, that's probably the easiest. Then you can often identify at least the really, really bad ones at the beginning, and not even have to take them. So
and that's what I'm still trying to work on. So I'm listening to your tips because I don't know how to weed through without me talking to them, because the receptionist.
I would just try to come up with even if it's like only 2 or 3 questions that if it's a certain answer, it's a no, and that's what some people are coming with, then you can immediately tell them, like, what I usually say is, we can't help you because either we don't do that or it's not a good case for us or whatever. But then you can do that with an email, or you can have your admin call them and say that, as opposed to you hopping on the phone with them, talking to them for even 10 minutes and then having to try to get off the phone with them. Once they've started telling you their story, it's like, then it gets right. And then it gets crazy. They want to keep talking. They know you can help. They know you can, like, what happens. The problem with us as attorneys is we're like we're like legit dangerous on almost every question that you ask us because we're just smart enough to like think about it, you know? So I always tell people like, hey, I can give you an answer. I have thoughts on this. You just can't, you know, I don't know all of it. So you need to go confirm this with somebody else. But if you can come up with like those 2 or 3 questions, you know, even if it's like, do you have actual damages, right? Like, do you have money? Does somebody owe you money, or is there money at stake here? I don't know. Like, I'm just making shit up because I don't know. But if you can come up with those qualifying questions and at least weed out like the very, very top level people that you know, have no chance, that can help. That can help a lot, particularly for those Google Ads kind of cases.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, let's see. Where are we at now? Oh, challenge. You sort of talked about your biggest challenge. Tell me more. Tell me a little bit more about how you would define your biggest challenge and just sort of what that looks like. Tell me about it.
I mean, if you talked to me last year, it would have been finding the right people in the right seats. But I think we're on our way there. So now I just think it's increasing efficiency because the admin side of our firm, and we have plenty of people, I just sense that they're not doing enough. You know, they're just not being efficient. So I've got to figure that out. And then with the legal side, I mean, same thing, but it's a lot easier because, I mean, it's measurable. It's easy to say, okay, I'm going to increase your billable hour requirement, you know, and then you check it and we're good. I mean, it's a lot easier because it doesn't require so much creative thinking. But with the admin side, it's just trying to figure out how to best use everyone's time and make sure that they really are, because they're supporting the legal team and the legal team's paying for them, but they also have to take a lot of the admin stuff off the legal. And I think right now that's my challenge because I'm having everybody bill their entire day, the entire firm, including the admin, it's because I'm trying to figure out where people are bogged down, what is taking them so long, because the legal assistants, I don't want them to be spending a lot of time on admin tasks that aren't billable. So I'm just having them bill their whole day, even if it's admin, so I can figure out how much time they're spending on admin and how I can get the admin people to do it. So I'm just trying to, that's my biggest challenge right now, is just trying to make sure everybody is working efficiently so that we can make a profit. So everybody can make a profit. I mean, that's the whole goal. So
well, it's like you got the team put together. Now you just want to make sure that, like, if you got a basketball team, to use this kind of analogy, that the center is not like bringing the ball up the court and jacking up 3-pointers all the time. You want him to be down on the block, like, you know, moving people around like they're supposed to. That's cool.
Yeah.
That just takes time, I think. And I mean, what you're doing is sort of how you do it, right? It's like the next level of problem that arises in your business. You know, A is, can we eat? B is, you know, right, how do we leverage people to do more? And then C is getting them organized so that you can do as much with what you have, right?
Right.
And there's this thing too about, what was it? It's like the rule of 3 and 10 or something like that, but I can't remember what it is. But basically, you're sort of there where you're at that point now where you have enough people where you have to really have good systems and a good organizational structure in place to be able to get things moving, you know? So it's doable and it's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So how are you, so you talked about one of the things that you're doing as far as having people track time. Are you focusing on anything else, or have you identified any other strategies to sort of help you move toward that place?
No, I mean, I think that's step one for me, just trying to figure out what's bogging people down and how we can delegate to other people to make sure that the billers are really billing and not, you know, bogged down on the admin tasks. And
do you have like a project management tool that you use? Like, and this is what I'm saying. If somebody new came into your office, how easy would it be for them to like plug into their role? You know, like they're like, how do people know what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, well, we've worked on it now for 4 years, a policies and procedures manual that's constantly updated, literally step by. See, and I mean, I also go back and forth because it's so very detailed. Like, you got to be careful because if it's too detailed, no one's going to look at it, you know. But if it's not detailed enough, then it doesn't do anything. So, I mean, we have it broken down how to calendar, litigation calendaring, how to save files, where to save, the whole thing. So the idea is when new people come in, they've got a manual, they're supposed to review it and refer to it. If that's what I think that's what you're asking.
A little bit, yep. Have you ever considered breaking that down by practice area and then by like type of case? So like,
yeah, we have. Yep.
Yeah.
So we have one section for estate planning that goes through the entire thing, and one section for litigation.
Do people actually follow it?
The good ones do.
So the answer is no. That might be a good place to start too. Is just the hard thing is when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I don't even have that many people, and I have to do it all the time. Is you really have to be like a parent, for this kind of stuff. Like no, like Susie or Johnny or whatever. You can't. You have to send this over here first. Like the next step is to have this person do this thing. Like don't skip a step. Like don't go out of the order. To get people to get on board with that kind of stuff. But once they do, then it's amazing. It really is. Right. But, because it's just like, if you don't want your legal assistants doing non-billable work, you just have to make sure that they're sending the admin work to the admin people at the right time,
Correct. Yeah. That's what I'm working on.
Yep. Cool. All right. What, let's see. Goals. I know this is sort of your goals. Do you have any, like, I don't care about your money goals necessarily, but do you have any, is there anything else that is sort of you're aspiring to in the next 12 months?
Really what's on the forefront of my mind is simply increasing efficiency, and so that we can make a profit next year, more of a profit, let me say. I mean, we do make a profit, but more of a profit next year. That's really my biggest, because, we toyed around with even a year ago, how big do we want to get? Oh, we want to get bigger, blah, blah, blah. No. We're we're like, okay, we have enough people. We don't want to be a big firm. We don't even want to be a mid-sized firm. We just want to work with what we have, and we want it to work well. So really that's my focus. This year, my focus was marketing and client relations. And so next year it's increasing efficiency.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So we're getting to the end, by the way. So you're almost off the hook. What, this is what I always ask everybody. So it'll be interesting to see. Everybody's got an interesting answer. What, so think about when you started your firm and this might actually be pretty quick for you because you got that good client right away. But how long did it take for you to go from when you started out to feeling like this is going to work? Like this is, not like internally this is going to work, but where you lost some of that, like being freaked out that the whole thing was just going to fall over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Honestly, probably not till this year, because I was so worried that the big client, I've been tracking what percentage of our money is coming from them, because I don't want it to be over 50%. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I want to diversify. I want to make sure we've got lots of different kinds of clients bringing lots of different money. So this year, because the nature of the cases, they're kind of slowing down on that front, so which is good. It's fine, but in a great pace, at a great pace actually, because we're able to fill it with other clients. So I feel like honestly this year I felt like, okay, we're going to be fine. Yes, we have that client, but even if they leave, we're going to be okay. So I'm okay. Like I feel comfortable.
Totally. That's a great lesson. I mean, if you are relying on it goes, and it doesn't even go with one client, but it goes with one referral partner, one specific, stream of potential clients. If you're just relying on one thing, you are susceptible to being in trouble if something happens.
Right.
That happened to me because I was doing, back in the day, I was like this Google search guy, right? I was like this SEO guy. I was crushing. And one day Google changed their algorithm and I was like, where is everybody? Nobody was coming. And so it was not fun, to be that guy. And so that's cool. All right. What about, let's see. Oh, if you could do one thing different from when you started, what would that be? Like if you could go back and tell yourself, like, change this thing, or don't do this thing, or if you could, what would that be?
You mean like from when I started the firm?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yep.
Okay. I don't know. I mean,
It could be nothing too. Your answer could be nothing.
I don't really think. I don't. I guess. Yeah. No. I mean, I just think. Well, okay. I'll say. It's important, which I knew, but it's important that gosh, I've had like. How do I say this? When I don't know how to explain this except that your staff is kind of like your children to some extent, like, and you're the parents, so you have to be really careful about what you tell the kids, right? So
sure.
you really have to be careful about how you say things and what you tell them. And so there's thankfully not been a lot of whoopsies, but there have been some, and I think, and maybe that's a tip actually, just be real careful when you've got the staff. You just really need to be careful about what they know and what you say to them and how you say things, and your demeanor. I mean, everything matters. So
yeah,
really found that to be true.
Yep, that's perfect. That's cool. And then last thing is, what is your so for this question, I want like your woo-woo, successy, like high level mindset-y kind of an answer. Okay, but what's your best piece of advice for all those law firm owners listening out there?
Well, I think be consistent, which is probably something you say all the time on your, in the sanctuary and on the podcast. But consistency is key. I mean, consistency with your networking, what you're doing. I just think you got to be consistent with everything you do. And if you're consistent and you stay consistent, you keep doing it, it's going to happen. It really will. If it's, if you stick with it long enough.
That's perfect. All right. Thank you so much for your time and your transparency, and welcome to the attorneyx Alumni Association.
Thanks.
That's a wrap, everybody. Thanks again for listening. I really appreciate your time and attention. And a reminder, if you want to keep the attorneyx